On June 28, 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn and attempted to arrest patrons for being homosexuals and cross-dressers. Those who were released stayed nearby, a crowd gathered, and they decided to fight back. Many who participated, including Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Stormé DeLarvarie, and Miss Major Griffin Gracie, went on to form some of the U.S.'s first gay rights organizations, the Gay Liberation Front, or GLF, the Gay Activist Alliance, or GAA, and Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, or STAR. On the first anniversary of the riots, they held the first ever Gay Pride March. The Stonewall National Monument commemorates the Stonewall Riots of 1969, which marked the beginning of the gay liberation movement. The monument is located in Christopher Park, directly across the street from the Stonewall Inn. The focus of the monument is George Segal's statue, Gay Liberation. The statue's meaning and importance to the gay community has changed over time. It was controversial when it was commissioned 10 years after the Stonewall Riots, but today, as we approach the 50th anniversary, it is a much more safe of a piece. Its material, color, and poses all emphasize the normalcy of gay couples existing in public. There were reasons for it being designed the way it was, but it noticeably lacks the rebellious spirit of, or any reference to, the Stonewall Uprising itself. Instead, it opts for a safe portrayal of happy couples that leads a viewer to ask, what does this have to do with what happened at Stonewall in the first place? George Segal's Gay Liberation consists of 4 figures cast in white patinated bronze, a gay male couple standing and a lesbian couple seated behind them on the park bench. Segal's technique creates an unfinished look to his statues, sort of like when a two-dimensional image has blurred edges. The white patina noticeably contrasts the bright rainbow colors of the pride flags flying in front of the Stonewall Inn and other surrounding buildings. Their clothes are fairly unassuming. They wear jeans, t-shirts, boots, a hoodie, a bomber jacket. The style comes from the 1970s, but even today their outfits would not stand out. They affectionately touch one another, but the male couple remains at arm's length from each other, and the female couple are only touching very lightly. They could be any ordinary people hanging out in the village. They don't even have to be gay. It's pretty normal for straight men to grab one another by the shoulder, and straight women show all sorts of physical affection between friends. The proximity to the viewer and casual posture of the statue give the park a sense of human presence. You can sit on the bench right next to them. It was characteristic of Segal's embrace of the generic, universal, and everyday. With such a realistic depiction, it would make more sense for them to more literally represent the thing they commemorate. Commemorative monuments help us remember events and people, but the figures in Gay Liberation don't represent the people at the Stonewall Riots. They represent liberated gay couples of the 1970s who lived openly because of Stonewall but weren't actually there. A formalist monument might have a better defense to the accusation that it's not relevant to what it commemorates, but formalist monuments of the time period still found ways to evoke the specific events and people they commemorated, such as Karen Dan's Homo Monument, whose triangle shapes represented the patches that marked homosexuals in Nazi concentration camps, or Maya Lin's Vietnam Veterans Memorial, whose design forces the viewer to quite literally reflect on the mass scale of death in the Vietnam War. The way Segal sculpted Gay Liberation followed the same realism of his other works, but the way he was chosen to design it reveals more about the statue's intentional and unintentional meaning. The monument was commissioned by Bruce Voller of the National Gay Task Force, a more assimilationist gay rights organization, which focused more on safety and legal rights for gays and lesbians than other groups like the GLF, GAA, and STAR, which pushed for full acceptance in the public sphere. Voller funded the monument with Peter Putnam, who previously funded Segal's Kent State Memorial, and thought his style would be able to walk a middle line between a statue that was too closeted and one that was too explicit. Putnam wanted the monument on public land, which required public meetings where residents of the area could voice feedback, giving an opportunity for homophobes to obstruct its installation. This is one of the reasons for the 12-year gap between its casting and its installation. Though the statue was cast in 1980, it was not installed until 1992, and it was not designated a national monument until 2016. Between its creation and its installation, the gay community was devastated by the AIDS epidemic. Art historian Margo Hobbs Thompson notes that, when the statue was installed in 1992, the figures themselves, the men most poignantly, testified to a bygone era of sexual free expression and idealism, replaced by a political regrouping and redirection effected in part in response to the AIDS crisis. Recently, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced a monument to Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera will be erected a couple blocks east on Christopher Street of Gay Liberation and the Stonewall Inn. While Segal's monument was universal enough for any viewer to project themselves onto it, the desire for a more specific commemoration of the actual gay heroes is finally going to be met. While it is a major achievement for gay couples to be recognized in a public space, the Stonewall National Monument was always a monument to compromise, the same kind of compromise that still forces queer people worldwide to tone down expressions of who they are